This is what you call a censorship cartel. This is what we've been dealing with for the last, I was going to say 4 years, but really it's been 8 years with the mainstream media and Donald Trump now saying, you know what, we're going to end it. We're going to end it for good. He's got the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, in there making some new demands. We're going to talk all about that today. Plus, this just breaking moments ago, it has come out that Donald Trump has indeed fired a number of employees, at least 9 involved with the prosecutions, I was going to say persecutions of the prosecutions of the former U.S. president. We'll dig into that and what it means for Letitia James. And then there's this little doozy out there for you.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. They don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something. But
oh my goodness. Selena Gomez. I mean, just bawling in her short, reel, Facebook post, Instagram post. I don't even know, but she's out on social media crying her eyes out. She's actually taken that down since because I guess she kind of realized that maybe it was just a tad inappropriate. Anyway, Tom Homan, you know, he's the border czar. He's responding to her. Welcome to the program, everyone. I am Trish Regan. It is really good to have you here on this Monday with so much news developing right now. I want to begin, though, on this big deal because it's a big deal for our First Amendment. It is a big deal for the future of this nation, and that is the FCC going after ABC, CBS, and NBC, the big three, if you would. You know why? You got this guy in charge now. Well, you got the big guy in charge. You got Donald Trump, and then you got Brendan Carr. And they've been watching this unfold over the last 4 years saying, you know, this is kind of nuts. It's a little bit nuts when they're trying to warn you. Oh my gosh, you cannot possibly elect Donald Trump because if you do, it's the end of the world as you know it. I mean, just take it from Hillary Clinton and the ladies on The View.
What, in your view, would happen if he were to be reelected?
Oh, I can't even think that because I think it would be the end of our country as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. You know, I hated losing. And I especially hated losing to him because I had seen so many warning signals during the campaign. But I immediately said, look, we have to give him a chance. We've got to support, you know, the president we have. And I meant it. And I tried really hard. And then literally from his inauguration on, it was nothing but, you know, accusing people of things, making up facts, denying the size of the crowd at his own inauguration. And
all right. So we had to listen to that for a while. We had a few other things along the way. I mean, nonstop. This is basically the second coming of Hitler. You couldn't possibly vote for him because he was going to destroy all of your civil liberties. You don't think that was going maybe just a little bit too far, just a teeny tad too far? I mean, after all, you're supposed to have equal time. I guess it doesn't mean equal coverage necessarily, but it was like 99%. Media Research Center actually ran these numbers, and it was something like 99% or 98% negative coverage of Donald Trump, where you got 99% positive of Biden and Kamala Harris. And so the FCC is coming in there going, but wait a second, these are public airwaves. Aren't you kind of doing a disservice, don't you think, to the people of the United States of America if you are just spoon feeding them whatever it is that deep state and the current administration want to have fed to them? I mean, that is effectively a form of fascism, if you ask me. And then some. So it is appropriate to do something. It is appropriate to ask for more fair coverage, certainly from the big three networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. It's the end of the world as you know it. I mean, NBC already gets it. That's why they're doing the spinoff, because, you know, they can't have people like this nonstop saying things that are so inflammatory so as to raise the red flag for the FCC. This would be one Joy Reid, whose job kind of hangs in the balance right now. Apparently she's being paid $3 million. $3 million too much. They're trying to get her to take a pay cut. Whether or not she'll decide to stay is anyone's guess. Not that she could do much on her own. But nonetheless, Joy Reid has this little TikTok account where she likes to scare the HELL out of everyone. And she's somehow saying that she still wants to cut off half the nation because they voted for Trump. This was right around the holidays, saying, don't go to Thanksgiving dinner. You think you need this on the airways? I think not.
People may not feel so confident that they're safe with you. This is not crazy. This is legitimate feelings of fear of you and a feeling that you might not be someone they could trust. If this thing goes way south, autocracies go south real fast and things get ugly and people get asked to do things and turn people in and point people out and turn on them. And if you're voting affirmatively, gleefully for this, people might, I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's over. It's over for these people. I mean, and it's like they just won't give up, right? Here she is saying that somehow there's going to, I mean, this sounds like a violent threat, frankly, to me. She's trying to say that, it's not okay to pardon J6ers. It's not okay to forgive anybody for that. Here she is again. NBC, you're in trouble.
Well, I hate to be the fly at the picnic table, but you can't peacefully transfer power to an insurrectionist simply because it took them an extra 4 years to finish the job. This was a violent transfer of power, the most violent in U.S. history, if we're being honest.
So I think it went okay, right, guys? I mean, we had January 6th came and went. It's January 27th now, and we're all still standing. But this is the problem here. You have an incredibly biased network amongst the likes of ABC, NBC, and CBS, biased reporters, biased journalists. I don't know what's in it for these networks. Is there some kind of payoff? Is this how they make their money? They had such, or they went to, I should say, such extraordinary lengths in the days and weeks prior to the November election that they were even putting Kamala Harris on Saturday Night Live in the 11th hour. Remember that one? This doesn't really go over well with the equal time rule. So Donald Trump is coming back and he's suing them all, including CBS, because don't forget how they edited the Kamala clip on 60 Minutes to actually make it sound like she could speak, which she can't. So all of this is coming back to haunt them. And so he's now restoring what they call the bias complaints by Trump against ABC, NBC, CBS. He's not just restoring Trump's complaints, but restoring the public's complaints, because a number of groups came forward and said, wait a second, it's not just bias, but you've totally violated equal time. So what does that actually mean for these networks? It could get really, really sticky, because ultimately ABC, NBC, CBS, all of their affiliates all across the country, I think 7 networks or affiliates, I should say, are the only ones owned by ABC. Every other ABC affiliate out there in your hometown, that's all, those licenses are given via the grant of the U.S. government. And so the U.S. government can look at ABC and say, you know what, we don't really think your programming is appropriate for all these little affiliates. Not to mention the little affiliates are saying, we don't really think it's appropriate either, because a lot of the affiliates were actually more fair in their coverage than the big networks, like the ladies at The View. I mean, Sunny Houston still just won't stop.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then you started seeing people backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. Mm-hmm. I say no. You don't move on, because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget, because past becomes prologue if you forget any race.
You don't think it's a little out there to maybe be comparing current times to slavery or the Holocaust? I mean, I'm just saying, all right? So they're out over their skis. They have become a caricature of themselves. And now finally you have some adults in the room, including one Brennan Carr, who are saying, along with Donald Trump, okay, enough is enough, people. Like, this just is not going to go on. And so he's restoring all these complaints. And this is a big deal, because they're basically, all these complaints that are out there, it's not just by Donald Trump. This is by a number of different organizations. And the Biden administration was like, no, we don't care. Of course they didn't care, right? If anything, Biden regrets that he didn't do more to suppress the other side, because it was just misinformation. He allowed misinformation to be out there, and that's why he lost. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that. Just like Kamala Harris keeps telling herself, it's Dougie's fault. You know, if it hadn't been for all his indiscretions along the way and, you know, the reported impregnating of the nanny, maybe she'd be president, right? You guys just keep going with that. It is not gonna fly. In the meantime, news just breaking that the Trump Justice Department is firing on a firing spree. They're purging. You are fired. And guess what? If you were involved in going after him, the prosecutions against the president, you're really fired. You're really fired. That's on the federal level, of course. That's obvious, right? It's one of the reasons why Jack Smith went packing. But there's more to come. I'm thinking the state level. Because Letitia James is going bonkers. Letitia James wants you to know that the laws protect immigrants and limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement efforts. New York has laws that will limit what they have to do. Those laws should be followed by our law enforcement officials in our state. I'll always uphold the laws and protect immigrant New Yorkers, she's writing. Yet, Letitia, I'm sorry. There's this thing called the federal government, which has actual control via our U.S. Constitution over our borders and over immigration. So you can keep trying to tell yourself that, but guess what? You're in trouble. You're in violation of the federal.
Under my leadership, my office sued Donald Trump over 100 times. And the basis of all of that was Project 2025. So he cannot distance himself from something that he has attempted to implement when he was president of these United States. And we were successful 70% of the time. We were the firewall, Democratic attorney generals.
Well, she thinks she's going to be the firewall again. She's telling everybody, guess what? Don't cooperate. Well, guess what Donald Trump said? He said, you know, you can do that, and I'm actually going to go after you then at that point. So this direct challenge, ladies and gentlemen, that was just issued to Donald Trump from one Letitia James, it's being met with another challenge from Donald Trump and Donald Trump's legal team. And don't forget, they've had 4 years to work on this. I mean, he's coming back armed, ready, loaded, ready to go, and ready to address all of these things, including the Selena Gomez's of the world and the ladies on The View, etc. So Letitia's out there working hard to see if she can continue to protect all of those migrants in New York City. You get the governor of Connecticut saying, hey, come one, come all, just go to Connecticut. You've got Massachusetts saying they're going to do their part. California's AG, echoing the AG, Letitia James in New York, saying that they are going to make sure that they fight this. And again, I just go back to what the actual law is and what the actual Constitution is. I mean, take your pick. There's a variety of clauses in there. I'll go to the Commerce Clause, right? Because business reporter that I am, I like the Commerce Clause. And the Commerce Clause gives the federal government jurisdiction here over who's in the country. Who's in the country? You got it? Okay, so this is not going to fly, Letitia. You can keep trying to kid yourself and try and reinvent the law like you have before, but it's not actually legal. And so if this goes to the Supreme Court, which actually, you know what, guys? It very well could, then you're going to see the Supreme Court say, we got a whole bunch of things in the Constitution, including the Supremacy Clause, which establishes the federal laws and treaties of the supreme law of the land, which is going to override any kind of conflicting state law here. Guess what? You get it, Letitia? Trump trumps you. Trump trumps states. You know, remember when Greg Abbott down in Texas, the governor was going crazy trying to control his border, and he's like, that's it. You know, we're not going to let anyone in. And guess what? He was running into legal challenges. Why? Oh, because the federal government controls migration. The federal government controls borders. So as much as it sucked, excuse my French, for Governor Abbott to not be able to control his border, the reason was because it's the federal government's job. And the federal government wasn't doing its job. So, you know, Texas is like, we're out of here. Like, maybe this is a secession kind of moment. We're going to see you later. But he couldn't do enough because of the way the Constitution is written. So for Letitia or for California to try and get out there and say, hey, we're going to take control of this. We have news for you guys. You can't. Donald Trump wins that battle all day long. And Letitia, you're going to find yourself in violation of federal law. And that could possibly, I'll quote one of his lawyers, Trump's lawyers, Mike Davis, who said, honey, you could find your fat ass in prison. His words, not mine. But you get the point, don't you? Letitia James, no can do. Anyway, Tom Homan's taking all of this heat. I mean, Selena Gomez is all over him. ABC's the Pope is all over him. But you know what? He can take it. He can deal with it. He's responding to all of them. Here he is over the weekend with Martha Raddatz from ABC News. She's trying to say, oh, you know, how can you do this? How can you do this? And he's like, oh, you better believe I'm going to do this. And then some.
You know that this creates fear in the immigrant community. The chair of the U.S. Conference of Bishops Committee said turning places of care, healing, and solace into places of fear and uncertainty for those in need while endangering the trust between pastors, providers, educators, and the people they serve will not make our communities safer.
Well, look, here's what I think. If Congress has a job to do, we're enforcing the laws Congress enacted and the president signed. If they don't like it, change the law. I find it hard to believe any member of Congress is telling us not to enforce the law that they enacted and they fund us to do.
But opening up to anyone who's in the country illegally and going into schools and grabbing them, does that, kids, adults?
The message needs to be clear. There's consequences for entering the country illegally. If we don't show there's consequences, you're never going to fix the border problem.
Right? So that means they're willing to go into the schools. They're willing to go into the churches. They're willing to go wherever they have to go in order to get the bad guys, to get the criminals who are here illegally. And you're going to have to just deal with it because guess what? That's what the American people voted for.
The Pope this week said that it's a disgrace what we're now doing with this new government, deporting all of these people. We've got, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of media searching for the sad stories here, trying to turn public opinion against this operation. What's your message to the American people as you guys do this work?
Well, let me give a message to the Pope. I'm a lifelong Catholic. I was born Catholic. I've been through Catholic doctrine. Look, he only concentrates on fixing the Catholic Church, first of all. He's got big problems there. And in the Vatican, they have a wall around the Vatican. If you illegally enter the Vatican, the crime is serious. You'll be charged with a serious crime, be jailed.
Yeah.
So he can protect the Vatican where he lives. He can build a wall where he lives. Where American people are not allowed that? No. Securing the border saves lives. He needs to understand that. When we secure the border, when less people come, less women get raped by the cartel, less children die in the river, less Americans die from fentanyl overdoses. He ought to stick to it. He ought to stick to the Catholic Church and fix that. That's a mess.
Wow. Oh, wow. So, you think about it. The Pope, Catholic Church is a mess, by the way, but the Pope has the Pope Mobile. The Pope is completely safe. The Vatican is on lockdown. But everybody else, all in the name of Christianity, has to take one, take all? The criminals too? That might destroy your community or hurt your children? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, and but you know what? This is what they're going to do. The left-wing media is going to show you all kinds of clips. Oh, this is so terrible. Families are getting broken up, this, that, and the other. And they're going to try and tug on the heartstrings. But I don't think it's going to work because you know what? Again, you look at every single poll from the New York Times to Fox, every single poll overwhelmingly shows you Americans want this under control. You can't have a situation where you've got hundreds of thousands of people that are known criminals in this country illegally. And we're not even talking about the fact that they're here illegally, right? Which is a crime in and of itself. We're talking about they're known for having committed crimes. And yet somehow the lefties that can afford their versions of the Pope Mobile all think it's okay to just keep bringing them in and giving them stuff, which, by the way, stuff that we don't have and we can't afford because we're dealing with all kinds of problems on that front. I'm going to talk about inflation in a second. In the meantime, there's this little actress that used to work for Disney. She used to be on Barney like years ago. She's not that little anymore. She's probably in her mid-30s. You wouldn't know it by the way she's crying and crying and crying and crying and crying and crying on screen. I see some of your comments. You guys are like, oh my gosh, I can't take it. I can't take it. It's awful. Well, you know what? She at some point must have realized this is pretty darn awful because she pulled it down. But we got it. This is Selena Gomez, the actress and singer, former Disney star, crying her eyes out because her people, she seems to forget that it is America where she lives. It is America that has made her into a star. It is Americans that pay to see her movies and pay for her music, but her people, I guess she's originally from Mexico or her family's from Mexico, she's all worried about them. Take a listen to the sobbing, hysterical, narcissistic Selena Gomez.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. They don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't.
What do you think of this?
What to do? I'll try everything, I promise.
I mean, wow, right? Tommy, what is the girl crying about? Leslie, like what children? What are you talking about? I'll tell you, we ought to be worried about the children that just gone missing into the country rather than, she's complaining and children are getting sent back. Well, families getting sent back, etc. I mean, she's just a piece of work. Piers Morgan agrees with me. Here he is on Twitter saying, posting yourself weeping over illegal immigrant criminals being deported is a new level of absurd celebrity narcissism. But I just wonder, like, you think about the left and how they get everybody rolling together. I mean, Jules in big trouble right now. We'll talk about that later because she dared to sing at one of the inaugural balls. And Carrie Underwood, think about Carrie Underwood being in all the trouble that she's in. They're talking about maybe getting rid of her at American Idol because she dared to sing, and she did a beautiful job, a cappella, singing America the Beautiful. I mean, it was just such a touching moment, but you get all these crazies out there on the left that control Hollywood, that control these celebrities, and they will never accept Trump. And they will never accept reality. And so you wonder, was she pressured to do that? Did somebody tell her, like, do this? Or is she just a hysterical, emotional mess? And that's why she did it. I don't know. I don't know the answers. I think, Piers is onto something. She's kind of selfish and narcissistic, and she assumes that, she can do something. I don't know what to do, but I'm going to try and do something. Well, Tom has a message for her too. This is terrific because, oh my gosh, the children, the families, etc. And he's like, yeah, what are you talking about, girl?
The Hollywood celebrity who posted it has now deleted it, I think because probably she faced a lot of backlash for it, noting even the New York Times and Fox News polls show that a majority of American respondents are in favor of deportations of criminals and gang members. She posted a video sobbing. She was crying in it. She said, all my people are getting attacked, with the picture of a Mexican flag. Again, she has now taken that down. But what do you say to those who are out there saying that these are everyday people, these are families that are being attacked and dragged out of their homes? How do you respond to that?
I don't think we arrested any families. We've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line. And look, President Trump won the election on this one issue, securing our border and saving lives. What happened on our southern border last 4 years is the biggest national security threat this country's seen, at least in my lifetime, because we got over 2 million known gotaways. We got a 600% increase in sex trafficking. We got a record number of terrorists crossing the border on the terrorist watch list. We have 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl coming across the open border. We're going to do this job, and we're going to enforce the laws of this country. If they don't like it, then go to Congress and change the law. We're going to do this operational apology. We're going to make our community safer. We're going to save. Once we lock that border on continuous operation, you're going to see fentanyl deaths decrease, illegal alien crime decrease, sex trafficking decrease. It's just all for the good of this nation, and we're going to keep going. No apologies. We're moving forward.
Yeah, it's remarkable. So he's a great guy. He's been on this show. He's been on my shows over the years many, many times. I've gotten to know him, and he is so committed. He's no nonsense, no BS. He's kind of one of those true blue characters, kind of, from another time almost. Tom Homan means so well. And he's in a tough spot because when you get the whole world stacked against you, and he does, and you get all Hollywood stacked against you, and he does, and he's trying to do the right thing. And the right thing, whether these people know it or not, is to actually make sure that you don't have criminals here. The right thing to do is to make sure that you have a system where people who we want here and we know are here can come here, but it's not open season like it has been. I mean, it's just disgusting what has happened for the last 4 years. Truly, truly unbelievable. I want to just give a quick shout out for our friends over at American Hartford Gold. You know what? I see inflation still happening as much as I'm excited about Donald Trump and all his economic policies. And I do think he's going to help get this thing better under control. The reality is, you know what? You're still looking at 2.5%. That's what the Fed wants every single year. So how do you make sure that your dollars are worth as much today as when you want to retire? The answer for me anyway, the way I diversify and protect against inflation is by having some gold in my portfolio. In fact, gold was just down a little bit today, and so I went in and bought a little bit more. You can get gold as well with American Hartford Gold. You can actually get silver too, up to $15,000 worth of free silver right now. 1-844-495-1115. That's the number. You can go to trishlovesgold.com. Trish loves it. You can't forget it, right? Or just text Trish to 65532 today, 65532. Text my name. They'll give you all the information on this special offer, how you get $15,000, up to $15,000 in qualifying offers with American Hartford Gold at trishlovesgold.com today. Meanwhile, as we look at this market, and wow, this market was something, late last night, there was an article that came out from Bloomberg. There was another one over the weekend in Wired that talked about a Chinese AI company that was using OpenAI, and they had managed to somehow do a whole lot with very, very little. And so it kind of called into question everything that's been going on with the Mag 7 and all of their investments in AI, because it was like, wait a second, if this company DeepSeek can go out there and take $6 million in investment and somehow turn it into $60 billion, then what has everybody else been doing? It's an interesting question. I do think there's some economies of scale that are happening within the industry itself, within the semiconductor and the GPUs, et cetera. So the better they get, the cheaper they're going to get, et cetera. So there's some deflationary consequences associated with that. But basically, it took the whole world by storm. Everybody was freaking out. What's it mean for NVIDIA? And so consequently, you saw that tech sell-off today. We'll see how this all shakes out and what it really means. I do encourage you, though, guys, to go over to 76 Research, because we actually didn't put NVIDIA into our portfolios for a variety of reasons, but in part because of the threat of this. We do have some other ideas for you, though, including a way to play OpenAI, if you would. 76research.com. Go to those model portfolios, 10 to 15 stocks in each one of those. You want to be in these good, solid companies, because I'm going to tell you what. You know what? Regardless of what happens with Mag 7, this is the reality. AI is here. AI is growing. It's becoming cheaper. It's becoming more creative. And there are companies that are going to take enormous advantage of that. So the companies that can use that AI that will become cheaper, that's actually a benefit to them. So who are those companies? What are those companies? Go over to 76research.com today. Get those model portfolios. There's 3 of them, 10 to 15 stocks in each one. We walk you through all of it. I highly, highly encourage it. It's my company that I started with my dear friend, Rob Horton. Oh, JD. Did you guys see JD over the weekend? Woo! JD Vance, absolutely burying this reporter from CBS News. She's getting kind of like hoity-toity lately. She's really having a hard time. Every time I watch her on TV, I actually know her. She's a sweet person. She's a little uptight on the air, but that's what network TV does to you, right? Like, you got a script all the time. You got to stay within the time cues. You only got 19 seconds for this and 14 seconds for that. So she's a little bit contrived in that sense. And then occasionally she gets a little flustered. And this was one of those moments because JD just toasted her, okay? Like completely toasted her. And it reminded me of Tom Homan. It also reminded me of the antithesis of, say, one Mike Pence, when he basically said that the American people were not his concern. I'll let you see this. Curious to get your reaction. JD versus Margaret Brennan at CBS News. Take a peek.
Can you talk to us August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals
but there are
have been properly
30,000
vetted.
people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary
Do you stand by
concern
it?
as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people
it's
are
not
vetted.
good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
We'll be back in 1 minute with more of our interview with Vice President Vance.
I told you, he toasted her. It's over, right? She showed her hand, she played her hand, and clearly she's lost her way somehow. Because when you're sitting there arguing with the vice president over, oh my gosh, but the Afghans, and he's like, I'm just not willing to take a chance on some of these people. I don't think they're properly vetted, because we've had some circumstances where we found out after the fact they were not properly vetted. And she's like, but the Afghans. I mean, I'm sorry, like you've lost your way. She's no longer, and this is what happens with the whole mainstream media, she's no longer arguing for the people of America. She's arguing for the Afghans that want to come here. Now, I get it, right? We're a nation that's always welcomed immigrants. That's part of our history. It's part of what makes us so special. I get it, okay? But we can do that and have a little more say over it, don't you think? We can do that, and we can say, you know what? We need these people. You know what? We need more teachers. We need more nurses. We need more engineers. We need more cleaners. We need whatever. You don't even have to, don't get me wrong, you don't have to have a PhD to come here. We need workers, but we need to know that you can come here and that you have a place to stay. You can take care of yourself. You can find a job. Let's actually synthesize this so that it's done in a proper way. Thank you so much. I love the support spirit-filled, mentioning my decor, the set. I'm glad you like it. I kind of designed it myself. What do you know? I appreciate that, guys, and I will try to get to all your super chats. You guys have been so generous lately. I really do appreciate it. But this is the world in which we're now living, right? Where the mainstream media feels so compelled that they have to stick up for all the other countries and all the other people around the world, as opposed to the United States citizens themselves. That's a big part of why Donald Trump won. It's a big part of why no one trusts the media anymore, and it's a big part of why, to get back to where we started, the FCC is now getting involved and saying, okay, this isn't working. This just isn't working for America. I thought that was great. I mean, JD, completely I'm here for the American people, Margaret. I don't care, right, about everybody else. And it was really and truly the opposite of that pretty infamous moment. Remember when Tucker Carlson was interviewing Mike Pence, and he starts saying, but Pence, there's garbage on the streets and there's this and that, and he's like, it's not my problem. It's not my problem, Tucker. It's not my problem. He's like, it's not your problem to look out for the American people. Guess what? It is. And if you think it's not your problem, whether you're the mainstream media, whether you are the vice president of the United States or the president of the United States or senator, congressman, whatever, then we don't need you. Because if you're not looking out for us, who the heck are you looking out for? Your pocketbook? Are you like one of the Biden family members? That's not over, by the way. That's so not over. There's a great legal loophole. Civil cases and state cases. I'm waiting for Texas. My money's on Texas. Florida, too. They can bring a case against the Biden family. And guess what? They're going to have to testify. Because they're pardoned now, right? So they're going to have to testify. Somebody's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. And you're not pardoned as far as the state level goes. Quick shout out to another one of our great sponsors here on the show. I take my Balance of Nature fruits and veggies every single day. balanceofnature.com. I really do encourage you guys to go there today and check it out, because I miraculously, another one of my kids is sick again with a cold, miraculously have been, knock on wood, cold free all fall, all winter. Okay, we'll see how long it lasts, but this is like a record, okay? It's an absolute record for me. Other than during 2020 when, I didn't get to see anyone and I didn't go out, that was the other time that I really didn't have to worry about getting a cold. This year has been especially good for me on the cold front. Nanya, I'm sure, I can't put too much pressure on Balance in Nature because I'm sure at some point it might happen. But I do credit, actually, in all seriousness, the vitamins I get from them, because I had never been so good about taking a multivitamin until now. And it's thanks to their sponsorship that I'm able to come here for you every day. The show is free. I'm here Monday through Friday, and it's in part thanks to the good folks over at Balance of Nature. I do encourage you to check them out, because you can get 35% off, which is pretty darn good right about now. 35% off. Use code word Trish, my name, TRISH. You can call them at 1-800-246-8751. Again, that number is 1-800-246-8751. You get free shipping. And by the way, no harm, no foul. If you don't like it, you can send it back. They'll give you your money back. So money back guarantee. I think you'll like it though. Make sure you get the free shipping. Code word Trish, okay? Code word Trish there at Balance of Nature. My goodness, Ana Navarro over on The View. You know her, right? The woman who used to pretend she was a conservative and now has gone the other way. She's just a full-on never-Trumper. Here she is.
Former head of ICE, Tom Homan, has just been picked as border czar for the upcoming administration, and he recently went on 60 Minutes to justify the price that migrants and Americans will pay for his plan. Take a look.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together. I don't care what anybody's opinion is on illegal immigration. When you create a crisis this big, all these other bad things happen. That's why we have to secure the border. I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, or independent. Border security is national security.
So perhaps that means that they will go back to the plan that was that both the Republicans and the Democrats were going to do at the border, and was stopped by you-know-who. So maybe that's in his mind, that there is something to do there.
You realize, it's chilling what he just said. You realize that when he says, yes, families can be deported together, what he is saying is that U.S. citizens can be deported. What he is saying is, if the parent is undocumented and they have U.S. citizen children or U.S. citizen spouse, and you don't want to separate them, then let's deport the U.S. citizens. Look, Donald Trump won the electoral vote. He won. He's going to win the House. He won the Senate. For all effects and purposes, he's got the Supreme Court. They've given him immunity. This is what the country voted for. This is, a lot of people thought that when he talked about mass deportations, he wasn't being serious. I don't know how many times he had to say it for people to realize he was being serious. Well, if you thought he wasn't being serious, the appointment of Tom Homan today as border czar, and he will be in charge of a mass deportation program, the largest the country has ever seen, they say. And now Stephen Miller, as deputy chief of staff, should let you know that he was absolutely serious. And when you talk about mass deportations, people think, oh, it's just going to be the criminals. There's not enough criminals, aliens in the federal prison system for it to be mass deportations. What it means is grandmothers. What it means is brothers and aunts. What it means is abuelos y abuelas. It means dreamers. It means your family members. It means your colleagues. It means your friends. It means people who are part of the society. And look, America, those of you who voted for Trump, this is what you wanted. This is what you voted for. You screwed around and you're about to find out.
Again, Anna, just to remind you, honey, Americans voted for him. And you know what they said? were the two top issues, none other than the border and the economy. Inflation has been rough. The border has been rough on so many communities. And you know what? Somebody had to do something because it was very clear the direction we were going and nobody was willing to do anything. We were losing our country. That was the fear. That's what was happening. And so I think Americans actually have a very high bar in terms of tolerance for whatever it is that they're about to see. Apparently you don't, though. Anna, you're more worried about the cost of flowers over Valentine's Day. Anna tweeting out that she's so upset here because, you know, they've got this standoff going on with the Colombian president, Donald Trump versus the Colombian president. This was great over the weekend because literally, like within the span of 3 hours, the Colombian president folded after Donald Trump threatened 25% tariffs on all goods coming in from Colombia if they wouldn't take back their illegal criminals that were here in the U.S. Well, Anna's flipping out saying, you know what? Most of the flowers imported into the U.S. come from Colombia. Happy Valentine's Day, America. You're not going to get any flowers. You know, Anna, flowers are expensive. I don't know, is everybody in America is so worried about their flowers. I'll never forget when Teresa Heinz Kerry, you know, the one married to John Kerry, the one that has to fly on the private jet all over the world as the climate czar to accept all his climate awards because, you know, he's the climate czar and his time is very, very, very important. Well, his wife, who comes from the Heinz ketchup family, so, you know, we're talking mega money here. When he was running for president, this was just unbelievable to me. I'll never forget this quote. She was doing an interview on NPR, and they asked her if she had any ability to kind of understand what it was like for everyday folks that were struggling economically. And she's like, oh, yes, you know, when I was in school in Switzerland, and I loved fresh flowers. And it really, really was hard because I had only so much money every week. And it meant if I wanted my fresh flowers, then I had to economize, which meant I had to eat pasta one night a week. I mean, those are the Kerrys for you, okay? And Anna's like following right in line with Teresa Heinz Kerry saying, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to have trouble with the flower prices because Donald Trump is saying, you don't take back those migrants, Colombia. You don't take back your criminals, Colombia. And why does Colombia want them back? Of course they don't want them back. They don't want the criminals. Are you kidding? Well, Donald Trump said, sure, no problem. I'm going to slap a 25% tariff right on your hide. And literally, it was so funny because I actually texted a friend this. I'm like, well, and he wrote back, he's like, yeah, like give it a few hours. They're going to completely reverse it. Sure enough, 3 hours later, maybe less than 3 hours later, not only had the Colombian president say, oopsie, no, just kidding. He's sending his own plane now. He's sending his own plane to pick up the criminals. So it's coming at his cost. I would just say, look, refreshing, right? How long do you think it would have taken the likes of the Biden administration to negotiate anything similar? Marco Rubio, by the way, is still shutting down the visa office there. So nobody's going to Colombia. Forget about Cartagena for your spring vacation. Like, not happening. Not that most people want to go to Cartagena anyway. Like, it's Colombia. Anyway, I'm just saying, Ana Navarro really showing her stripes. She's more worried about flower prices than she is the safety of United States citizens. Think about that. So, you know the singer Jewel, right? You know Jewel. Well, she was invited to perform at RFK Jr.'s inaugural ball, the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again ball, and she accepted the invitation, and she did a great job at the performance, but then it seems she's had to backtrack. She's now issuing a statement saying, I'm sorry, because you see, the LGBTQ whatever community is out there saying, how dare you? I mean, it's Trump, for goodness sakes, right? So she's like, mea culpa, I apologize. I shouldn't have done it. Come on, Jewel.
And I am so sorry that I caused pain, especially in my LGBTQIA plus community, because you guys are treasures. You make the world a better place. You've made my life a better place.
Well, you see, she had to issue that because they're that mad They're that mad. I mean, I would just say to heck with them. You know what? You got a new audience now. You got an American audience that loves you because you're willing to stand up for America, which means you don't have to be political about these things. You heard Kid Rock, right? He was on Fox the other night saying, Michelle Obama, what's your problem? I get it. She's angry. She's angry. He basically said, and we know why. Go back and look at my chapter on that. That came out this weekend. I'll give you a clue. Jennifer Aniston, allegedly, reportedly, either that or that's the beard for something else. Anyway, I digress. The point being that the LGBTQ community is so mad. And I'm just saying, listen, like, Jewel, you don't have to fold. Like, you can say, guys, get over it. Kid Rock performed at the inauguration, however many years back, for a candidate, I think it was Bush, that he didn't vote for. But he performed because, you know what? It's part of being an American, having some respect for the office. Anyway, the whole community's after her. Here's some woman on Twitter really tearing it up about poor Jewel.
Of all of the celebrities who have kissed the ring of the most evil man in history to take the reins of this country and drive it into the ground if you're not rich, one that I just found out and hurts a lot is this one. Did you guys know that Jewel sang at the inaugural ball? Did you know that she sang at the inaugural ball? Made an appearance with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the whack job? There are so many marginalized groups already being hurt by this man. And you can't find it in your heart to say, no, I'm standing up for marginalized groups and I'm not going to sing for you.
Oh.
Is money that tight? I don't know. I don't want to infer, but your lyrics seem to suggest that you care about actual people and hurting people. And you just hurt all of your marginalized fans by doing this.
Oopsie daisy. Apologies for the language. Did not realize that was there. Anyway, we'll put a bleep on it after. I mean, they're all angry, right? They're angry. And so she, of course, had to respond to that because she's worried she's going to lose that base of support. And I guess my only point is, like, those days are over, okay? So for Carrie Underwood or for this woman, look, for Carrie, I mean, it's tough. She's actually in crisis talks, allegedly, because the American Idol franchise is concerned that they're going to lose viewers. Apparently contestants might be dropping out, producers are flipping out because she did this. And it's like, guys, come on, like, get over yourselves. The whole DEI thing, it's ended. You know, we're a meritocracy. And, you know, we've been successful as a nation, as a meritocracy for a reason. So let's embrace that. Let's love that. It's one of the reasons I created 76 Research, right? Because I was so sick of this DEI stuff, especially once it was infiltrating Wall Street. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. All we care about are earnings and profits. And yes, you know, we want good companies and they can't do bad things, et cetera. But, like, that's not the goal. The goal is not to just employ everyone that otherwise couldn't get a job. The goal is to make sure that we have cutting edge companies that do cutting edge things and lead the way forward. And so I created 76 Research with very dear friend Rob Horton for that reason. I want you to go over, if you can, 76research.com, use code word dollar to get the 76 report. 76 Research or 76report.com. It's just $1 a month for the first 2 months. Goes to $9.95 thereafter. By the way, you can cancel anytime. So same kind of, you know, it's no harm, no foul. But I really encourage you to do this, especially if you're just getting started as an investor. The other big advantage that we offer you, and this is included if you get a model portfolio, you do get the 76 report. But take a look at the model portfolios because there's an income builder portfolio. Kind of important. And look, those are the companies that people gravitate to when they start worrying about some of these things like they're worried about with NVIDIA, et cetera. So the income builder portfolio, that's doing really well. I want you to take a look at that one. We also have an inflation protection portfolio, which is sort of like a good dividend play portfolio, as well as some stocks and companies and commodities that are there to guard against inflation. And then we have the American Resilience portfolio, which is a bet on the future of America. And you know what, I'm just going to tell you, I would never bet against America. I always bet on America because we always somehow come out ahead. And with that in mind, as so long as I mentioned inflation, you know, gold is part of what we look at there. Gold is a part of the portfolio. And so I encourage you to go take a look there at not just the 76 research, but also Trish Loves Gold, American Heart for Gold. I encourage you guys to do that. You can text Trish to 65532, 65532 for more on the special offer, up to $15,000 right now in free silver for those of you that go to trishlovesgold.com. It actually traded down a little bit. I've been watching gold very, very carefully, waiting for it to go down just a little bit because it had been upwards of 2,600, even approaching 2,700 an ounce. And so today was an opportunity for me. It was only down like 1.7%, but I look for those dips because I do like to add to my own gold diversification strategy. With that in mind, I thank you, of course, for being here. It is great. You know, we had I got to the super sticker. I was just making sure I did. Yeah, thank you for that. It's wonderful to have so many committed people. Do me the favor of making sure, if you would, guys, do make sure that you are here and subscribe to the channel, because I come on at different times every day, and it's really, really important that you hit the bell. That way you know that I'm live. Great to see so many familiar faces. Don, after you as always, to make sure that you all hit the likes so that we smash those likes and we continue this upward trajectory. It's just been incredible. It's been so amazing. You guys are the best. I thank you for all your support and everything you do, and I will see you right back here tomorrow.